How should organizations be positioning themselves to take advantage of this growth?
Don't wait for a perfect solution to start work. The space in AI is maturing and developing so fast that if you wait for the perfect solution to emerge in another year or 2 years, might be left far behind. So I would say that make use of what's available and start experimenting.
When we're looking at emerging trends, what should our audiences watch out for?
With AI, the advancement is happening much more rapidly. As in, you can see between the time OpenAI launched their first release versus now, it has progressed dramatically. So real-time training and real-time skilling will become extremely important as far as the workforce is concerned.
Hi, and welcome to Tech Transformed, the podcast where we explore how technology is reshaping businesses and what that really means for the people leading and working within it. I'm your host, Trisha Pillay. In this episode, we're asking important questions. As AI changes the way we work, how do we ensure that the human element isn't left behind? To help us explore this, I'm joined by Anshuman Singh, the CEO of HGS UK. With over 26 years in customer experience, digital transformation, and business process optimization across Europe, he has guided organizations through major shifts in how they work and serve their customers. Anshuman, thank you so much for joining us.
Trisha, it's a pleasure to be here and sharing our thoughts with you. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. So let's start off first with this. You are the CEO of HGS UK. Could you start by telling our audience a little bit about yourself and your role?
My name is Anshuman. I joined HGS to lead the UK, more broadly European business in January of this year. Before this, I worked for a company called Mindtree, where I spent my time working on different digital transformation and customer experience programs for a leading number of companies, including many Fortune 500. What attracted me to HGS was, one, their vision and the breadth of capabilities that HGS had in the customer experience space with a fairly wide global presence, and their vision on how technology and AI is going to transform the customer experience management space. And it was a mix of two, along with a great, fantastic team, which I had the pleasure of interacting with during my interview process. Did the job, and here I am, working alongside a fantastic team to serve our customers better.
That's a great starting point to understand the perspective you bring to this discussion. Now let's get into the meat of it, right? So AI is often framed as a job disruptor, with headlines talking about automation, replacing traditional roles. The reality is more nuanced, right? So how are you seeing AI reshape workforce needs in practical terms?
It's a fascinating, question, and something that I think about often, because what tends to happen is, given that we have an inherent bias for headlines that, are attention grabbing, we often notice headlines that are talking about AI is replacing jobs. So I went about, looking to research the topic, and I was trying to discern if the AI is actually replacing jobs, and if so, in what sectors and what kind of jobs, or is it just a broad reflection of the fact that you just come out of COVID, where there was a lot of investment that was made into digitizing processes, and also a lot of technology overspend. And now we are in an economic climate that's not as great as it has been before. And is it all a reflection of that? Now, what comes out is very interesting. I think on one hand, there is data coming out from some of the leading American universities who have analyzed payroll data to say that while there is a growth in jobs, there are certain kind of jobs that are not growing as fast. And then there are contradicting studies which say that, yes, there is a lot of enthusiasm around generative AI, but that's not taking away job. I think in our assessment, I think in the near term, AI is being used for more routine tasks. So, as we ourselves know as consumers, we would rather, let's say, password reset or reset our account password ourselves rather than calling somebody to reset it. Now, that's just one example, but there are many such tasks, whether figuring out where's my order, can you reset my password, many first level tasks that as we call it, are getting replaced by technology and in many cases, AI through conversational interfaces or through synthetic voice. And I think that's broadly a good news because it frees up everybody's capacity to do more meaningful, high impact, complex work. There has been, studies, for example, where you look at that if a healthcare assistant could earlier take 25 minutes to fill a form, assisted with AI, they can probably fill that form in 5 minutes. What it effectively means that they can probably potentially look after 5 times as many more, patients. Now that's broadly good news because I think most of us hate repetitive, boring tasks, and wherever technology can help us, that would be great. And I think that's really the wave that we are witnessing. We are putting technology to good use by taking away the boring and the mundane. I think what the discussion is prompting is that a large number of managers, I think 1/3 of them, are now looking at prospective employees who can put AI to good use in their day-to-day work. And that's beginning to change the narrative on productivity, being able to do more with less. And that, I think, is broadly a good thing. It will also open up different kinds of jobs, which are, if you look at history, they would typically tend to be better paying jobs. So, for example, if somebody who works on a very simple contact center job, if they are earning, let's say for argument's sake, $100, in the AI world, somebody who is helping train an AI model or doing prompt engineering might earn 200. Now, there is the flip side of it, which means you may not have as many jobs opening up, but you will have better paying jobs that will open up. So I think we are at a time where it's opening up new opportunities. It is taking away the mundane. It is also a space where things are evolving very fast. And I don't think we can make a decision right away that AI will take away jobs in balance. I think we'll need to wait and watch as things evolve.
That's so interesting what you're saying, because as I'm understanding it now, it's not just about replacing jobs, but basically reshaping how we look at them. And it's just a new era for everybody. It's like a learning curveball. So with all this automation, where does the human element come in? Why shouldn't leaders just let AI handle the decision making?
Like any new technology, if I just pick an analogy of automobiles, I think we have automobiles for, 100 years. And we now have a capability for them to self-drive. Now, it's a technology that has broadly been in existence for 100 years and rapid advancement in self-driving cars for the last 10. But we are still not confident because part of it is around being able to accept and adapt to a new technology and the confidence behind it. And partly it's a piece of tech that is not being deployed to full-scale commercial use. So we don't know where it might fail. And if it fails, then what happens? And then there are legal questions that is around that if a piece of AI fails, who's liable in the end? Is it the company that built the software or is it the company that's using the software? Now, given all these uncertainties, I think the path that most businesses are taking today is to use AI as assistant. And therefore, we hear the phrases like human in the loop, AI assistant, to be able to leverage AI and use that as a thought partner, as a partner to uncover patterns or facts that you are unable to see, as a companion to investigate pointed pieces of information rather than just letting it run on fully autonomous. And I think that's largely a reflection of the maturity of the technology, the degree of confidence people have in it right now, and the legislative and ethical pieces around it.
I agree, because relying solely on automated systems can be risky or just simply not enough, especially in this day and age. But when we look at AI driven innovations in customer service and business operations, do you expect we will have the biggest impact in the coming years?
One of the things that really attracted me to HGS was I started working in technology when e-business was really taking hold. It was just at the back of internet boom, and everything was slowly getting digitized. And customer service, in some ways, has been the last bastion, if you think about it, which has been relatively untouched with technology. Of course, we have had things like IVR or automated document scanning and processing and all of that, but when it came to voice and customer interaction, that was still not as disrupted, let's say, as retail was with e-commerce. Now, given the degree of customer adoption, maturity of technology, and the regulatory constraints around it, I think the first place that's likely to get addressed would be the use of agentic AI, which means do you have a piece of software or an AI agent that's actually assisting the human agent while they are on a call or trying to handle a case. These could be complex cases or simple customer service queries. So while I'm talking to a customer, let's say if they start speaking to me about where their order is, an agent can be triggered in this, an AI agent can be triggered in the background to go figure out the answer and present it to the human agent so that they can discuss that with a customer. Another example that we came across recently is that if I am a customer who has missed a flight and that I was heading for a big important milestone birthday or a wedding, now an agent can very easily go in the AI agent can very easily go in the background and fetch when is the next flight, what are the cancellation policies, and what should be the charges for missing the flight. But as a human, I understand the importance of that moment of truth, that here's a customer who has been with us for many years and they have missed their flight to an occasion that is all important. And I can blend that with empathy and may decide to waive off those charges as opposed to throw it down a self-service flow where you might have very horrible outcomes at the end of it. So I think that's the first step that will happen fairly rapidly in terms of AI agents assisting human agents to solve questions as they are speaking to the customers. I think there are other use cases that are coming to fore, which is looking and listening into customer interaction and being able to sense emotions, sense sentiment, and being able to aggregate and bubble it up. Now, most of us receive, after a customer interaction that we have had with a company or after an interaction we have had with a company, receive a survey. And I don't think any of us really like to fill that survey in unless we have had a horrible or bad experience where we are tempted to go rate somebody 1, right? Now, what that does is that it biases all the surveys towards negative experiences. And you often, when you have a happy customer who walks out, that doesn't often get captured into a customer survey. But if you are listening into every customer interaction on a phone call or reading through email messages that your agents are exchanging with your customers or watching customer interaction, you can get so much more intelligence about quality and levels of your service from a more softer point of view. But equally, you can even go deeper into aspects around compliance and regulation to say that did every interaction met the standards it needed to meet, whether it was in terms of quality or whether it was in terms of complying to certain regulations. I think that will begin to happen fairly quickly. I think lastly, we have seen personalization taking root in everything that we do. So websites are personalized, e-commerce experiences are personalized, but they haven't been stitched together across multiple channels. And I think we'll see especially with generative and agentic AI coming together, we will see these silos between departments disappear, and information that you might have about a customer in multiple places come together at every point of truth, so that every point of truth that a customer is interacting with you is more meaningful. And I think we will probably see that happening more and more.
I think those are very good points that you just made. I think it gives us such a clear picture of where companies should actually be focusing their efforts, especially in this new AI growth trend. But let's move on to stats. The global business process management market is projected to grow at least 12%, reaching a staggering 26.18 billion US dollars by 2028. How should organizations be positioning themselves to take advantage of this growth, particularly in the UK?
First of all, don't wait for a perfect solution to start work. The space in AI is maturing and developing so fast that if you wait for the perfect solution to emerge in another year or 2 years, you might be left far behind. So I would say that make use of what's available, and start experimenting. We have been running training programs for our own employees, and some of the workbenches that the AI softwares are offering today are very easy to learn. They are not as complicated as even 10 years ago, when you needed to know programming language or mathematics in order to be able to make use of the latest technology. So all that has rapidly evolved, specifically with generative AI, where you can instruct a computer to do something for you or write a program for you, as opposed to you knowing programming languages to be able to do something out of it. So make use of the technology that's available to you. The second piece of advice that we often give is, a lot of this technology will come from different providers and would solve very specific use cases. So start adopting a more platform-oriented mindset, and look at what systems can you integrate together, and how do you bring different tool sets so that you can provide a much more seamless experience to your end consumer. And lastly, given we work in BPM, don't try to digitize the old process that you have, but really think about what would an ideal experience look like in today's day and age before you go about automating it. The example that I give often is that if you can automate the car rental industry by making a digital form that a customer fills in, and when you hit submit, it goes to your taxi company, who then emails it to the driver that is supposed to come and pick you up. Or you can really think about a Uber-like process. And that's the difference between digitizing an existing process versus thinking about what makes sense in today's day and age. And while Uber is a often quoted example, I think the trick lies in figuring out what does that mean for my business, and what kind of processes we should be thinking about.
When we're looking at emerging trends, what should our audiences watch out for over the next 3 to 5 years?
It's a topic that we often spend a lot of time. It's almost like crystal ball gazing. So it's a lot of fun. So no guarantee whether any of this will pan out or not. But I think one thing which is very clear is that you will have what you call as the hybrid worker, people who work well alongside AI. And I think the basis for this is very simple. I think historically we have seen that as new tools and technologies came about, whether it was the word processing software or power tools, the shape and the nature of work changes, and you need the new workforce to work with the new kind of technologies. This has usually taken a long time to pan out. So from the time, let's say, electricity came to the time when power tools came, there was a gap of many, many decades. But with AI, the advancement is happening much more rapidly. As in, you can see between the time OpenAI launched their first release versus now, it has progressed dramatically. So real-time training and real-time skilling will become extremely important as far as the workforce is concerned. And we need to start thinking about what does that mean in our workplace, both in terms of uh, how you structure somebody's workday, how much time do they spend in a day or in a week learning new things, as opposed to sending them on a training program for 2 days every year. I don't think that's going to cut out anymore. Like it happened for digital, most companies today don't have a digital department. When digital started, every company had a digital department. Now every department is digital. I think that's what will happen with AI. So we need to, as business leaders, think about every department and what does the AI enabled version of that department look like. Start thinking about it very, very carefully. We need to look out for the regulatory frameworks that are going to come in, more so in Europe. I think there's a greater focus on regulation in Europe when it comes to AI. And keep a close eye, because I think that will prompt questions around traceability, fairness, ethics of how we are using technology and AI to drive some of our tasks. And I think over a period of time, some of the fundamental business models will shift. Right now, we are thinking about AI assisted models. I think you will eventually, over the next few years, look at AI native business models, very similar to how we saw with digital or e-commerce. So you had pure play retailers, and then you had pure play online retailers. I think same will happen with business as well. While you might have many hybrid businesses that will evolve, but I think you'll need to keep an eye out for the pure AI native business models. Something like a Blockbuster versus Netflix sort of analogy. What does that mean for your industry?
I think you've given us so much information and so good examples as well. But before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to leave our audience with, any tips or anything that you want them to remember from this discussion today?
I think number one, today, we need to start looking at AI and technology with the same lens as you probably looked at steam or electricity at the beginning of industrial revolution. It has really wide-ranging consequence for everything around us. But what we need to be more careful about is that the pace of change is going to be much different than what happened with, let's say, steam or electricity or even internet. So you will not have that amount of time available to you to adapt to what's about to come. So that's, I think, one. The second part would be with the current piece of technologies, it will have impact in the near term on the jobs, the shape of the jobs, and entry level jobs as to what it will do to it. And as business leaders, we need to find ways to balance it out. Because yes, you can run a business with an absolute focus on profit and margin, but you need to figure out what do you really stand for and what do you want to do as a business eventually. Not everything should be geared toward profits and margins. So what is your own duties and obligations to do for the next generation and for the current workforce that you have? Lastly, a lot of this is new, and don't forget about the ethics of it, the harm it may cause intentionally or unintentionally. I would say, I think I'll leave those three messages for the day.
Thank you. I think that's such a perfect note to end on, Anshuman. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. We really, really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much, Trisha, for having me.
So it's clear that while AI is transforming the workplace, the human element remains central, and leadership plays a key role in guiding this change. Thank you to our audience for tuning in to another episode of Tech Transformed. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Follow at EM360 Tech on X and LinkedIn. You'll see it on your screen now. And visit EM360 Tech for more expert insights. Until next time, stay curious and stay ahead of the curve.